Hey guys, my name is Nick and welcome back to the channel. Before we get into the topic of today's video, I just want to give a big shout out to Jameson Bamrick, who has recently pledged a Patreon subscription to the channel to financially support the content that I create here. I don't often go on about Patreon, but if you do want to support this channel a little bit more than just watching and subscribing, the link is in the description below on how you can do that. The subject of today's video, though, is taking a look at Imperial Armour Compendium, and some potential goodness that might compensate us that's come along today from Games Workshop with reference to the Death Guard. But specifically, we're going to be talking the impact to the Thousand Suns. So let's get straight into the video. First up, let's get the big elephant in the room out and talk about the Imperial Armour Compendium and how it has taken a very, very sour turn, certainly in my mind, towards the Thousand Suns. So there's a whole section on Chaos Space Marine datasheets, and it all evolves around the Legion keyword, and that refers to the Chaos Codex Space Marines only, which means every unit that we've known and loved from Forgeworld is no longer valid in a Thousand Suns army. Now this year and last year, in fact, I painted up 2 Decimators and 3 lovely Contemptor Dreadnoughts, and now I can't use them in my Thousand Suns army at all because we can't use the Thousand Suns keyword. So it's kind of ripped bit of a chunk out of my army. It's like nearly 1,000 points or so worth of models in my collection, which are currently utterly useless and are going to sit in a box. I'm sure some friends of mine might let me play them if I ask nicely and just refer to the old rules but pay the current points for them. But at the moment, I couldn't take them to an event or anything else like that. Not that we can go to events due to COVID. Thanks, COVID. But at the moment, yeah, I've got a big chunk of my army that I've spent a lot of money on and a lot of time painting that are completely unusable. I'm not the kind of person who's just going to repaint them and put them into a different army. That's not what I do. I do have a collection, but pending any kind of FAQ or errata, and it's been over 2 weeks now, yeah, they're completely off limits, which is exceptionally disappointing. I think this is the first time in my Games Workshop playing Lifespan where I've really experienced anything like this, and it's quite disheartening to see the level of effort and painting and everything else that goes into creating these kind of models and enjoying the hobby, and then just not being able to use them. It's a worry that is a direction that's being taken, but I do wonder whether the new Thousand Suns Codex will come out and correct some of this or not. I really don't know, but I would have expected an FAQ or something along those lines on the Imperial Armour book, which is full of so many errors, which I do want to cover in a separate video. There's an awful lot of I don't know who's written this book, but I think they might have been blind or something when they were doing this, but it is very, very disappointing. And the thing is, some of the rule rebalances are actually quite a good thing. Decimator engines, for example, have had a bit of an overhaul. So they used to be an 8 wound model that didn't degrade. They've gone up to 12 wounds, but now have a degrading profile. So their movement and their weapon skill and ballistic skill start to drop, which, is in line with some of the other kind of monsters or walkers at this kind of points level. It did lose some points to make up for it, but it did change a few other things. And a lot of its weapons that were really, really cool, like the butcher cannons, lost, a point of strength. Gained a bit of AP, but they don't modify leadership anymore on enemy targets when they kill stuff. So there's some modifications here, and also around the invulnerable saves while I'm thinking about it. But for me, the extra wounds don't really make up for that degrading profile, but they can now heal a wound per turn. So there is a swings and roundabouts here, but it does balance it back in line with other sort of walkers of this kind of points and size. Equally, the Contemptors also had a bit of a rework as well to make them a bit more fair compared to the Imperial, gaining a rule called Martial Legacy, which basically means you've got to spend a command point to be able to take them. This is in line with the Imperial Relic rule, where you had to sort of do a little bit of shenanigans to be able to take them. So, and Chaos were never punished for that. They now are. So, adding your points costs, you now need to consider how many CPs you spend on taking some of these units. But obviously at the moment, we just can't. So I'm quite happy with the rules changes, I guess, but I'm not happy with the fact I can't use them. So boo sucks to Thousand Suns. However, there might be light at the end of the tunnel following the preview of some of the rules for the Death Guard that have come out. Now, we all know that Death Guard are going to be the next codex, and they've given us a big hint around Demon Engines. Demon Engines form quite a big contingent within Death Guard, but equally so within the Thousand Suns, Defilers and Forge Fiends and so on, all of which are demonic engines. The example Games Workshop have enlightened us with is specifically around the Defiler and its top tier profile. It doesn't show what this degrades to though, but it definitely will degrade given that it starts with this 8+ wounds remaining. So given that they're in red as well, we're going to assume that movement, weapon skill and ballistic skill are going to be the degrading factors. The previous stats for a Defiler were the movement, ballistic skill and attacks degraded, so there is a change to this. But one of the big things we now get is a starting weapon skill and ballistic skill of 3+. The Defiler had a fixed weapon skill of 4+ before that didn't degrade, but its ballistic skill started at 4 and then degraded down to 5 as it got battered across the battlefield. The good thing is though, is our attacks don't degrade, so this is going to become a potential combat monster, and if this means alongside other demonic engines that are not going to suffer an attack degrade as well, this could be quite a good sign, especially when you're talking Mauler Fiends, which have a variable attack stat as well. So in theory, if this carries on based on the words that Games Workshop are using, where they're saying Death Guard's demonic engines have pretty much all been improved, so expect to see columns of Myphetic Blight Haulers, Plague Burst Crawlers trundling over the battlefield, etc, etc. It's better at shooting and fighting and has more attacks. And then the second paragraph, as with these improvements, expect this to be carried over to other Heretic Astartes armies when they get their new codex. So that does mean that the Thousand Suns are going to get very, very similar, if not identical, modifications, because they are a shared unit. So this is a positive sign, given that Imperial Armour has ripped the guts, certainly out of many a Thousand Suns player, because we needed some anti-armour stuff, Contemptors with last cannons, and a bit of flavour with the Decimators were very, very cool. We now need something to kind of compensate us for that, and hopefully that doesn't mean just giving us access to plastic kits. I still want access to my Forgeworld stuff. I've spent the time and the money to paint, but this is a bit of a positive thing that we could be seeing coming along. And I don't want to be completely negative. There is some bad here, don't get me wrong. I am disappointed, but equally there could be some love, and there will be some love coming to the Thousand Suns and its Heretic Astartes brethren, as and when the new codexes drop. And it'll be interesting to see from the Death Guard one what other shared type characters or units are going to be coming across the board. We know the wounds are going to go up for standard troops and Terminators, but I'm interested more to see what happens to things like Demon Princes. That's going to be a very interesting point for me. A Demon Prince in a Thousand Suns army is an auto-include, so it's going to be very, very key to see what the Death Guard do to some of those types of units. So I'm going to wrap this video up here with my two thoughts, really. I really, really hope that there is an FAQ or an errata or something that comes out to enable Thousand Suns and Death Guard players to be able to take their expensive Forgeworld units, and that's expensive cost-wise and time-wise. I'm not talking about points here. You know, we deserve to be able to use the stuff that we've paid to use. So that's the end of the story on that for me. There's a couple of new keywords that are creeping in. Certainly around the Legends document that's available on the Warhammer community around Arcana Astartes and Bubonic Astartes, which are two new phrases that have been used as keywords within this Legends document. We'll see exactly what that Bubonic Astartes means when the Death Guard Codex drops, and it'll be something vaguely similar, we assume, for Arcana Astartes, which will be the Thousand Suns specific. But good news on demonic engines for sure. Bad news on Forgeworld, and I'd love to know in the comment section below what you think of what's gone on here. Are you very disappointed? Have you got lots of Forgeworld stuff that you now cannot use at this present time? And equally, are you looking forward to seeing what happens with the Thousand Suns, guided by what may or may not happen with the Death Guard Codex? Only time will tell. Lots of people are putting the Thousand Suns at trash tier at the moment with regard to competitive. Not that competitive is what drives me here, but it would be nice to be, you know, able to play a game where you're not just going to get destroyed in 2 turns. So for me, there's always a fine, happy balance that your army still works and you can go and have a good game. And that's all we ever want, really. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I shall catch you guys on the next video.